Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. So back to what I was talking to you about with using multinomial regression to predict differences in membership in these groups, these high performing groups with good grades, and using the performance on one standardized test, a picture vocabulary test, as a predictor of where people are going to fall. And so you can use a multinomial regression to predict if they're going to, it increases their odds of falling into these higher and higher categories to any significant degree. Okay, so the way that we want to do that is we can go up to analyze and we go to regression, and then we go to where it says multinomial logistic. Okay, we have to find our dependent variable, and it's going to be our good grades variable. And here we have to select a reference category. So this is the category that every one of the predictors is going to be compared to. And then we'll leave it as the last category. So it'll be compared to a 4. So what is the effect of the higher score on a picture vocabulary test have on the odds of being involved in, say, being in the 0 group as compared to the group number 4 down here with the highest scores. Okay. And so that's what the reference category is for. The dependent variable. So remember, for multinomial regression, we have a reference category for the dependent variable, as well as also for the independent variables. So we'll have the picture vocabulary test in here as one of the dependent variables, put in here as a covariate. And then we'll also put, as a useful comparison, we'll put the variable for sex or gender in there as well. So if sex and gender and the picture vocabulary test score as predictor of good grades being in one of these categories, 0 through 4, and we can see the distribution there. So let's see what the results give us. Let's see if there's anything else I want to pick here. I don't think so. Let me just double check. Okay. And okay. And so our output here is showing, so the higher your score on the picture vocabulary test, the lower your odds of being in this low grade group as compared to the reference category, the high grade group, which makes sense. And so those who score really high on the picture vocabulary test are at a significant lower odds. So for every point actually on the picture vocabulary test, your odds of being in the 0 grade group go down by about 8 percentage points, a little bit less, 8.73 percentage points compared to being in this high category. Okay, and so gender also. So women score higher on the, or are more likely to be in the higher good grade category. They're disproportionately female in the higher categories, but only up to a certain extent. And we'll also see that the effect of health picture and vocabulary test is effective only to a certain extent. So women here are less likely to be in the low grade group as compared to the reference category. And it's, females are considerably less likely than males to be in this low grade group versus this high grade group. Okay, so gender makes a difference at the low levels. And here are the significance for these. And then at, looking at the kids are doing slightly better in terms of their grades, gender or picture vocabulary test and gender are significant. True here, true here. And now we're getting to the kids that are doing considerably better in school. It's still significant, although the effect size is shrinking, 0.9 up here. Now we're down to only a 0.5. the effect of a biological sex 0.5 compared to a 1.276. So it's shrinking too, but still significant. We get to here, it's still significant. And we get to 0.3, and we find the picture vocabulary test is still significant, and so is biological sex. That still has the same effect as before, although the effect sizes are much smaller. Then we get to those that are just on the second to top bracket down from the kids who scored the absolute best in their grades, at least their self-reported grades. Those are 3.5. And at that point, we see the picture vocabulary test now is almost not significant, and gender no longer is. And so gender no longer is a discriminating factor in terms of whether or not you're going to be at the very top of the grade distribution. And we can see that the effect of the picture vocabulary test also is still significant, but its effect here also has what's called diminishing returns. Okay, so what you see here is a non-linear effect of the picture vocabulary test and a non-linear effect of gender on good grades, because it's shrinking as we get to higher and higher levels of the good grade scale. So it starts off, right, being a strong predictor for people being at the higher grade level versus the lower grade level. But as we progress, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller still here. So it's reduced down to much about 80% of its size, and it's barely seen. And the effect of gender, the shrinking effect of gender is even more pronounced here. So you get this effect that it seems to be the case that gender, as well as your performance on the picture vocabulary test, have significant statistical ability to discriminate between the lower levels of grade performance in the schools, or at least according to the students' own self-reports. But at higher levels, it starts to peter out, and gender is not even significant. Gender doesn't seem to matter. There must be then probably a proportionate mix of males and females in that highest category, the next two highest categories, because it's not a significant predictor here. Okay, and so that's one way that you can use the multinomial regression, logistic regression, to test for kind of these nonlinear effects in some outcome that could be modeled in a linear fashion. But we can see here that there are some what looks to be a nonlinear effect. At least it's not consistent across the whole range of the outcome ranging from 0 to 4 here in this case. Okay, so hope that helps to clarify how this can be useful. Okay, take care.